everyone, welcome to Knowledge Hub. I hope you all are doing well. So this is the continuation video of OOPS concept. So without any further delay, let's start the video. Our first topic is class. So what is a class? Class is a user-defined blueprint from which objects are created. It represents the set of properties and methods that are common to all objects of one type. So below is the syntax to create a class in C#.NET. So syntax is we need to use class keyword then followed by its name. So here you can see the example. We have created a class with the name car. It has few properties as well as few methods inside it. Next we have object. Object is the instance of a class actually. So it represents the real life entity. An object consists of state, behavior, and identity. A new keyword is always used to instantiate the object. Below is the example to create and instantiate the object of a class. So here you can see we are declaring the object of a class and the class is car actually. And at this side you can see we are instantiating the class object. The new keyword basically provide the memory allocation to object, and if we are not using the new keyword, the object having a null value, and it always throw error if we use that object to access the member of the class. The next thing is how to access the class members. So we can access the class member only through the object of that class, which is followed by the dot. So here you can see the syntax. We have to pass the object name, then the dot, and then the member of the class. So here we have our class with name car, and here we have these properties brand and model and their behavior, or you can say the method of the car class is drive, reverse, play music. So if we want to access these properties and the member of the class, what we need to do? First we need to create the instance of the class with new keyword. Here you can see we are creating a object of the class, and then what we are doing, we are accessing the member of the class. So object dot member name. So here we have member name, brand, model. So what we are accessing, we are accessing the brand, then we are accessing the drive method of the class. So in this way we are accessing the member of the class. Scope of the class. The default scope of a class is internal, and the default scope of class member is always private. That you have to keep it in your mind. Now we have access specifier. So in C#.NET we have 5 access specifier. So what it do basically, it simply defines the accessibility of a type and its member. Now let's discuss first the private, so let's discuss first the private one. So if the member of the class designed with private specifier, it means that the members are only accessible inside that class. So we cannot access these member in the other class. Next come public. Public means anybody can access that members of the class. So it has no limit. The third one is protected. So there is some protection level here. So only the derived class can access the member of the base class. So next is internal. The internal access specifiers simply explain that the accessibility of the member is inside the class as well as in the same assembly, but not from the another assembly. The next one is protected internal. The type or member can be accessed by any code in the assembly in which it is declared, or from within a derived class in another assembly. Let's have a quick demo of all the concepts that we have covered so far. Okay, so first we will create a class here. So what I am doing, I will create a new class. We are using class keyword here and the class name is car. and here I am defining few properties of the class: public string, and we have model, semicolon is must, public string, brand. Then we will define some methods of the class like public return nothing, drive, and it has some functionality inside it. Then we have public void reverse, some functionality. And the third one we have public void play music. And that's it. So this is our class, and the next we will do creating the instance of a class. So we are creating an instance of type class car. So obj is equal to new, then class name. So this is the way to instantiate the object of a class. Next we want to access the property of the class, obj dot. So here you can see all the properties and the methods that we have inside the car class that are available here. So here we have brand, drive, that is a method, model is a field, then play music is a method. Okay, so what I will do, I will select the brand, and I select the brand value is BMW, and check dot drive. I'm calling this method. Okay, so next topic that we discuss here, that is access specifier here. So we already discussed the public one. Okay, so what I will do, I will make brand as a private. Now here you can see we will get some error here. So here you can see the error, car.brand is inaccessible due to its protection level. So why we are getting this error? Because we make the brand field as a private. So only the member of the class can access this property field. Okay, so what I will do, inside drive method, console dot write line method, I am initializing it called brand is equal to whatever we get from the parameter. So I will set it here, and then I will use this one. Brand is brand. Okay, so I'm not going to access the brand now. What we need to do, we need to call the drive method, and we need to pass one parameter here, and I am passing here BMW, and after that I am calling console dot read key method. That's it. Okay, let's run our program, then see the output. Okay, so here you can see we are getting our brand name BMW here. So what it simply suggests, that whenever you want to access the private member of a class, you can only access through the member of that class. With object you can't access it. Okay, so we cover public, private. So the protected one we will cover in the concept of inheritance. So in that concept we will cover that part. Next we have internal, then protected internal, that for that we need to create it another library inner solution, so that we cover later. Okay, So let's move back to our next concept, that is encapsulation. Encapsulation is defined as wrapping up the data and the methods together in a single unit called a class. So whenever we combine our data and methods under a class, that process is called as encapsulation. It provides a protective shield that prevents the data from being accessed by outside this shield. So in simple terms, the variable or data of a class is hidden from any other class and can be accessed only through the member of that class. So it is also known as data hiding. So encapsulation can be achieved by declaring all the variables in a class as a private. So as we already discussed in our example, so whenever we make our members as a private, we simply achieving encapsulation in that case. Next we have abstraction. So abstraction is defined as to show only the limited information to the end user rather than explaining the background detail. Abstraction lets you focus on what the object does instead of how it does it. So in real world example is the cell phone. We know the features like calling, SMS, camera, etc. But we do not know the internal logic, how to call, how to send SMS on a specific number. So that logic we don't know. Now we have important concept called inheritance. So inheritance simply means to inherit the properties of one class into another class. So with the help of inheritance, we simply achieve code reusability. As we can see, we have two classes, person and student, as shown here. Person class has some private, public and protected members. Using inheritance between these two classes, the student class will have access to public and the protected member of the class. So in this way, we are implementing the code reusability inside the class. The real life example of inheritance is child and parent relationship. So all the properties of parents are inherited by their child along with the additional property. So the next we have types of inheritance. So inheritance have 5 types: single inheritance, multi-level, hierarchical, hybrid and multiple inheritance. So one point that we have to focus on, multiple inheritance in C# only achievable using the interfaces. Let's have a quick demo on inheritance. Okay, now I am going to remove this one. Okay, before removing that, let's discuss the concept protected keyword. Okay, so I am creating a new property here called protected string color. Okay, and if I try to access this property obj dot, so here you can see we are getting drive, models, play music, reverse. We are not getting that property, right? We save and need to build again. Build solution. We need to build the solution again. Solution built successfully. Now obj dot. So can you see here the protected property is not accessible? Why? Because the protected keyword simply tells that this property is only accessible in the derived class. So we can't access this property using the object of that class. So we will move to the inheritance now. I will make it more simpler, just removing all these code. Okay, so let's create our first class, public class A, and it has some features. Then we have public class B. it has some features. So here I can say I will print some value, public void show a console dot write line. It will print class A. Similarly, I have one method in class B and it will have name show B and it will print class B. Okay, so we are going to implement inheritance. So to achieve inheritance we need to use colon, then followed by the class name. So in this way we are achieving the inheritance. Okay, so now we have two classes, class A and class B. So now what we need to do, we need to create the instance of the child class always. So what I will do, I will create an instance of the child class, going to instantiate it. Then now if I click obj dot, here can you see that we are getting all the methods of class A as well as class B. So if I call class A method here, then obj dot show B, and console dot read key to hold the console window. Now let's run the project. So here you can see we are getting our output class A and class B. Okay, now I am adding one more property here called with keyword access specifier protected string name this. Now if at this point when I access the members again, still I am not able to access the name property, right? But where I can access that? Inside the B class. So here I can access, so if I provide some value here, knowledge hub, okay, and here if I print console dot write line, and here if I type name, I am able to access that. To make it more okay, so now when I run the program again, we will get this output: class A, name knowledge hub, class B. Okay, so if we look into the code, so the name property is present inside the class A, but we can access it here inside the class B due to its protection level protected. If I make this one as private, then this property is not accessible in the derived class. Okay, now that's clear. Now this is called as single inheritance, when a single derived class inherited from a single class base class. Next we have multi-level. So what I am doing, I am creating a one more class with name C, and it further inherit the B class. So it is defining a level actually. So here we have one method here also called show C, and it will print C. Can you see here? We are still able to access the name property at this level. Why? Because A class is inherited in B class and B class is further inherited in C class. So we are able to access the property of the A class inside the C class. So this is known as multi-level inheritance. Now our derived class is C. So we need to create the instance of the C class rather than B class. And still our code is still valid. Now when I obj dot show C, so we have access to all the members of class A plus all the members of class B plus all the member of class C. So when I run our program, so here you see the output class A, class B, class C. So this is our multi-level inheritance. Next we have hierarchical. So hierarchical simply means that a single class is inherited by different classes. So for example, here we have class A. So what I will do, if I inherit the A class directly in the C class, so this will become a tree structure actually. Class A inherit in class B as well as in class C. So if we need to access class B methods, so we need to create the instance of the class B as well. So if I run the program again, so here you can see we are still getting the output. So it covers the hierarchical type. Next we have multiple inheritance. See, in C#.NET we can achieve the multiple inheritance using the interfaces. So first we need to create the interface called public interface keyword, then interface name. So I am creating an interface called IB or say IA, and it has a method which return nothing with the name display. That's it. Similarly, I have another method interface IB, and it has another method which return nothing, and it will show message. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I am using class C here, and it will extend class A, then it inherit interface IA followed by interface IB. So here you can see some errors. Why it appears? Because whenever a class inherit any interface, that class has to implement the interface methods. Okay, so we need to create or need to provide the implementation of display method as well as the show message. So to provide the implementation, we need to write the code this way: display, and it will show console dot write line I am interface a method. And another one is show message write line I am interface b method. Okay, so what we are going to do next, we are going to create the instance of the class C. Now at this time, when I do obj dot, here we will get the list of all the methods. Here we have display method, show message as well. So I am calling the display method, then obj dot show message. Now run the program again. Here we get the output: I am interface A method, I am interface B method. So in this way we are achieving the multiple inheritance. And the last one is hybrid. So hybrid, as its name suggests, whenever we combine any of two types, then it will become the hybrid type. So what I will do here, we are inheriting class A inside the class B. So I am using the class B here rather than inheriting the class A. So it completes the single inheritance, right? As well as it completes the multiple inheritance, because we are using the interfaces also here. So if I run it again, we still have the output. So it's complete the inheritance and its type topic. Now we have polymorphism. Polymorphism, it is a Greek term which means one name, multiple form. The word poly means multiple and the morphism means form. As we can see, we have one class with name mobile. It has camera features, and also we have another method which shows camera functionality along with different camera mode like night mode, panorama mode, etc. This concept is known as method overloading. It simply states that a method behaves differently in different situations. The real life example of polymorphism. Here you can see a person behave differently with his wife, with his child, and with his students. So as per the situation, his behavior gets changed. So this is the example of polymorphism. Next, we have types of polymorphism. Polymorphisms are of two types: compile time polymorphism, runtime polymorphism. Under compile time polymorphism, we have method overloading, and under runtime polymorphism, we have method overriding. So what does compile time means? It means that the binding of class object and its method occur at the compilation. So what does runtime means? It simply means that the binding between class object and its method occur dynamically, means when we actually run the program. Let's have a quick demo on polymorphism. Okay, so first we will cover method overloading. For method overloading, first I will remove all these code. we need only one class here for that. Okay, so we don't need this one also. So inside class A, I have one method called sum, and it expect A as a one parameter, int B second parameter, and this method will display the sum of these two numbers. Sum is A plus B. Now we have another method, public void, that will do the sum of three numbers. And it will print number is okay. So here we add one more, that is C. Fine. Now let's create the object of this class first. So we are using class A. We need to create the instance of this class A. Now we will call the method of the class. So when I click on object, here you can see we will get only one method, but we have defined two methods inside a class. Okay, so when I hover over it, can you see it shows that there is +1 overload method. Okay, so when I select the method and start the parentheses, so you can see we have two methods here. One method is with 2 arguments and the second method is with 3 arguments. Okay, so first we will call with 2 arguments. I will pass 10, 20. Then I will call the second method again. Okay, now run the program again. So here you can see the sum of two number is 30 and the sum of three number is 60. 10 plus 20 is 30 and 30 plus 20 50, 50 plus 10 60. So our output is correct. Now some important points regarding the overloading. First point is, whenever we define a method as an overload, the first point is it should have different number of parameters. Second, it should have, or you can say, or it should have different order of parameters. The third point is, or it should have different types of parameters. So these are the three conditions that we have to consider while we overload a particular method. I hope it will clear the concept. Now next we have method overriding. Okay, so in method overriding we need to create one more class, public class B, which inherit another method which inherit a class A, and here it is. So whenever we perform overriding inside a class, so there are some points that we need to consider. First, the method of base class should be decorated with virtual keyword. Second point, the signature should be same in base and derived class. Third one is derived class should use overload keyword while overriding the implementation. Okay, that we have to inner mind actually. Okay, so what I am going to do, I am removing this one, and the first point is the base class should decorate it with virtual keyword, so I am decorating it with virtual. Now the signature should be same in base and derived class, so I'm copying this one. The third one is derived class should use overload keyword, so in place of virtual we will use override, right? So what I want to do, whenever the override method gets called, rather than adding the value of these two parameters, I want to multiply the values. Okay, now let's see what happened in this case. I am adding a debugger here. Okay, so we don't have this method. Okay, so what I did, I created the instance of A at this point. Now we have class B. I'm creating the instance of the class B as well. Okay, so inside the B class, when I try to access the sum method, we need to pass values. I am going to pass 10, 20, that's it. Now what will happen when our code run? Let's see. Okay, now our debugger is on the first call. So when I press F10, so you can see here the class A method gets called because we have created the instance of class A, and it will show the output for that. Next, we are creating the instance of class B and we are calling the method from class B instance. So what will happen? See, it first hit the class B method and display its value. So here you can see the sum of two number is 30 and the sum of two number is 200. So this is what we have overriding inside the class. So this is known as overriding. So at the runtime we are indicating the pointer which method to be executed at that point of time. Either it is a base class method or it is a child class method. So this is called as overriding. Summary. So what we have covered so far, we cover classes and object. Next we cover how to access the class member, default scope of a class and its members, what are access specifiers and its types, encapsulation and abstraction, inheritance and its type, polymorphism and its type. That's it in this video. Thank you for listening.